My name is Edgars Ivanovs. I'm the developer of Riga Powerhouse. This is all about Coworking 2.0. I will tell nothing about Riga Powerhouse. I will tell about these trends which are happening now in Europe and globally. And the first thing we did was to do a serious research. And some part or essence of this research I will share with you today. So the big topic is sharing economy. And when people hear the name coworking, the first thing which comes in their mind is that it's about sharing the office space. But my understanding is that it is actually sharing the professional network. This is why people choose to go to a coworking place. But before I start, I want to ask a question. Please, people who have worked at least one day in a coworking place, can you raise your hand? One? Oh, few of them? Okay. Okay. Who have been at least once in their lives in a coworking space, just visiting? Okay, thank you very much. So, I'll show you some pictures. This is Rīgas in United Kingdom. It kind of looks like a coworking space. This is another Rīgas office. And this is another office. So all these pictures showed something which looks like a co-working space, which is basically an open office. And it's nothing new. It has been in the real estate market for 20 years, 30 years as a trend. And people can share this office. And also, people have been sharing the office space. And one of the biggest brands in the market is Rīgas, who has been offering this product. And the definition of a business center, which is usually offering this service, is a place providing office facilities and services. And then somehow, coworking is a place providing office facilities and services. But it's a completely different thing. Because, again, the most important part is that people are going there to share the community, the professional community. And that's why, when you see a promotional picture of a co-working space, it looks quite different. And the main difference is that business centers try to emphasize the space, the quality of the interior, etc., etc. But the co-working space tries to emphasize the professional network, the people who are there, the community. So, for instance, in Republican in Copenhagen, or in Veidotājs Berlin, or in Rainmaking Loft Copenhagen, you will always see people there in their pictures. And the same in our local co-working spaces here in Riga, the Mill, you see people. Or Riga Tech Hub, or Coworking Riga. So the reason why people choose to go and work there, it's not because only of financial gains, it's also because of this professional network. And that's why there is a definition which is very broad, and it's actually, it can fit to many, many co-working spaces all around the world. But the definition has the magic word that it's designed for and by people with atypical new types of work. And that's actually the main difference between the previous office market and the new office market. And I want to emphasize that Coworking 2.0 will have a serious impact on commercial real estate market, because it's a new player which wasn't there before, and it's going to occupy thousands, millions of square meters in the global cities. So this is the data from the previous coworking survey. Unfortunately, we don't have the newest data because the survey will be presented only in November. But you see that there are a few things which are marked with a blue line around it. This is something which is only familiar for people who are going to a coworking space. Good office infrastructure, good value for money, etc., etc. This can be also a part of a business center. But nobody goes to a business center to see an enjoyable atmosphere or a social atmosphere. This is not the main reason why they do that. And the members of co-working spaces are those which are working in creative economy. And this is something what the EU is trying to emphasize. We should have as many support as we can for creative economy. And of course it involves also creative industries, etc. But it goes back to that definition with a new type of work. And so it's very hard to define what exactly a person has to do. It's usually a project-based work, and it changes. In one period of time you have to make a presentation, you need a quiet place. In another period of time you need to do I don't know, a brainstorm with your colleagues. So all the time you have to have a different environment for that. So this postmodern work, as I mentioned, it is project-based, individualized, globalized, less structured. And it's all about self. So self-discipline, self-motivation, and independent thinking. And this is actually the reason why this grassroots movement, coworking, started. And now we see but also there are like a new trend, these digital nomads, or workation. So you try to combine two things which previously were very separate, work and vacation. So there are very different new business models and new, let's say, companies, so-called startups, which are testing the market, and we'll see a lot of them as big as Uber in the future, I hope so. Now I'll explain why I think that Coworking 2.0 will change the office market. As you see that only a few years ago, they were starting this coworking movement all around the world. So in 2010, there were only 600 coworking spaces around the world. And the average coworking space has 50 people in it. And each year it's doubling. And you see it's almost like half of it is in Europe, half of it is in the United States. And 2014, the global turnover of coworking, let's call it the sub-industry, was 600 million euros. If we look at the numbers and the progression they have, I can confidently tell you that it's going to be above 1 billion euros this year, and it's still a very small industry. But in the future, by seeing this trend that there is this hybridization between business centers and coworking spaces, these numbers will grow exponentially because of the amount of people that Coworking 2.0 will be able to serve. So it's just a graph of Google Trends. So you see that people didn't search for it almost in 2008, and now they search a lot. But what is very interesting for me, personally, I thought that coworking is an English term. Sometimes they use in other languages different words for that. But it's funny that in the last 12 months, the search coworking was like 20% in Brazil, 15.8% in Spain, and you see that only in English-speaking country, United States, it's only 5% of searches. So it means that there are new markets, actually, which are developing much faster than those, let's call it the Coworking 1.0 saturated markets. This is something for my previous colleagues from Colliers. You see that biggest real estate consultancy companies, DTZ, Colliers, I can see it, Cushman & Wakefield, Knight Frank, they all started to do a research about this topic, which is kind of a signal that if the big consultancy companies start to investigate this market, it might be interesting for them also as a future business. And all these articles are basically done either this year or in the very end of last year. So it's a very new topic for them as well. In June this year, European Commission has granted 1 million euros for, let's say, a European network of creative hubs and co-working spaces. This is also, we have been heard from EU Commission that we need to support creative economies, and then there have been a lot of actions in this direction. But now we see that they are already financing a network of co-working spaces. Another important thing, which actually surprised me a little bit. 1 billion euros has been attracted as an investment by co-working spaces. Of course, the biggest investment went to WeWork, which is basically now the global pioneer of co-working spaces and expanding very, very fast. But still we see that there are a list of other co-working spaces like Neue Hause, all the NYC, etc., etc. Also Uber offices, which is funny. got $14 million. If we will see this list next year, I believe that the number will be maybe not as big as this one, but the list will be much, much longer. And now I came to the essence of this Coworking 2.0. So Coworking 1.0, as I call it, was a place for around 50 startups or 50 people who are usually either in a startup or freelancers. They were sharing the space, usually an office, an open office space, and they were doing some kind of community events. And usually that was a grassroots movement. The space wasn't bigger than, let's say, 300, 400 square meters. For a real estate market, it's a very, very, very small client. And in a city like Riga, there's usually 3, 4, 5 co-working spaces, not more. And what's happening now, that the players like Regus or Workspace in UK, who are offering business centers, and they are in the market for 15, 20 years, they have created their own niche brand, like for instance Club Workspace by Workspace, which is actually a co-working space brand. So they are already investing in this market by creating a different brand for a different audience. And this audience is the one I mentioned you before, the new type of workers. And then we see a lot of different other brands like WeWork, which is a global chain and one of the most famous, or veidotājs, which is in Europe famous as a grassroots movement. But we'll see many and many of them. And what's happening is that the best of both worlds is being combined. So the high quality of business center services, the experience how to organize the space and organize the room booking, etc., etc. This is being combined with a professional community, with organizing events, with socializing events, etc., etc. So this is actually what we see in the future. And it also means that these co-working spaces will grow in size, in number of people, in turnover exponentially. Why? Because the client now today is the one which leases a fixed or hot desk, and usually it's 50 people per co-working space. So it's not a big number. But these small offices which work with creative economy, like media agencies, digital agencies, architecture companies, etc., etc., they also want to benefit from this collision of ideas from the interaction with other professionals on a daily basis. And they will be the future customers. So I call them creative SMEs. These will be the future customers of Coworking 2.0. So, what will be different from Coworking 1.0? Coworking 2.0 will be a scalable and sustainable business. Coworking 1.0 usually is either a non-profit or a very low-profit organization. The other thing is it's going to be a critical mass and diversity of companies there. It's going to be around creative economy, but there will be a variety. It will not be only like startups and freelancers, a bunch of people together. This is going to be a huge movement, I believe, in the future. So the innovation potential in such co-working spaces is enormous. Usually these privileges were only for big corporations, for their R&D teams, etc. Now very different companies, organizations, freelancers, startups, they can work together for future products, what they can bring to international markets. And about the commercial real estate market, WeWork leases thousands of square meters in the cities they are working. So basically it is a new player which will first of all lease a big number of square meters in the city, and secondly it will offer a very different product than it is used today. So they will not offer a space, but they will offer a service and a community. And the community is the big key. So, and a few things more. I have seen I think 100 co-working spaces around Europe, and they differ a lot. There are very professional people running them, and there are young students running them, which have zero experience in this, or either in business at all. And in the future I see it's going to be knowledge, experience and professionality. To run such a big space you need a good team. And what I think is very important for the city is that such co-working space, which is bigger in size and concentrates the creative economy of the city, it can also improve particular neighborhood, because around these, let's call them creative hubs, around them there starts a lot of grassroots movements, a small, let's say, production areas are being regenerated, etc., etc. So, by all this telling to you, there's something, of course, the question, what's in it for you? And this last slide I actually created by thinking, if I'm in the audience, it's an interesting story about the Coworking 2.0, how it's going to change globally in Europe or in Latvia. But there are things you can take with you today and actually do it right away, because it's a lot about the innovation. It's about these young, creative talents, stars, how to motivate them. Financially, it works for a very short period of time, but the work environment is something which motivates usually them much more. So, first of all, it's important to facilitate creativity and collaboration. And the physical space, if it's being reorganized, it's a very good asset to facilitate that. And of course, the other thing which has definitely to come with it, it's an organizational culture. It's about that we support collision of ideas and perspectives, rather than concentrate on some routines which we are used to work with. The other thing which I would like to suggest, to test, to send your R&D team to a co-working space. Send it for a week or a month. Find a co-working space where, let's say, professionals which fit to your business are concentrated. This actually might bring you back a lot of new ideas for business development. Might be that it can bring you back a good, let's say, a partnership with these startups or freelancers. This is something what actually these all big brands who like to follow, Facebook, Google, etc., they are doing it today. And they are doing it on a massive scale. And one thing I want to suggest for you, start to think about products for this industry. At this stage, if you check co-working forums, etc., there are tons of problems nobody knows how to solve. Starting from insurance, music in the co-working space, room booking systems, etc., etc. Nobody has a very direct answer to it, because there is no market for that yet. And if you start to think about these products now at this stage, it might be that you will also be the ones which will benefit from the development of this market, because the demand will grow within year and year and year. And this might be also kind of a good export product for the future. So thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Edgars, of course. And yes, we have questions. The first one is why we need kind of official co-working space. Aren't Starbucks as a coffee office enough space for price of coffee?
It's a very good question. Because in UK, Workspace tried to differentiate co-working space more like a retail or leisure business. I don't think that's the best approach. The thing is that if you think that open office is a solution to all of problems, you might be very wrong. Because let's say, if you have to do a financial, I don't know, presentation, you need to focus on your work. And you need a quiet space. You don't want to be disturbed, so it means you need a very specific place to do that. If you have to do a phone call, if you have to, I don't know, sell your service to other countries, you need this dedicated space for that. You will never find a quiet office in Starbucks, you will never find a phone booth in Starbucks, etc. So, if you count at the co-working space like it's today, Starbucks is kind of a solution, but again, who is going to Starbucks? If you're looking for young professionals, creative minds, it's not said that Starbucks will be the place for them only. They usually try to work in a professional space. They need everything organized around them, so it's easier then to find in a co-working space rather than in a coffee shop.
Okay, thank you. The real estate costs a lot of money. What cost can participants expect when using a co-working space, approximately?
Okay, so it differs market by market. And this is the topic I feel very strong in, because I have done a lot of calculations about that. So in Riga city, the average price co-working space for a fixed desk is around 150 euros. Hot desk, so the one which is not fixed, which might be busy when you come, it's around 100 euros per month. So it's from 100 euros per month to 150 euros per month per one desk, so per one workspace. And I did, let's say, research. I analyzed around 25 companies, which all are like working in creative economy. I took a lot of costs what they have. They shared this information with me. So starting from the rent, maintenance, coffee, water, printers, amortization, etc. So a big list of services they spend money every month. And then I counted how many employees they have, and on average, if the company has a B1 office in Riga city center, on average they spend around 140 to 150 euros per month per employee. If they have a, let's say, B2 office or a B1 office farther from the city center, the number might be lower, around 120, 130 euros per month per employee. And the co-working space actually offers the same, more or less the same number. You get all the services, you pay one price, and that's all. But the future is that if you have a bigger team, let's say you have a company of 20 employees, but you want to enjoy the same service, so you most probably will have the same service. I don't want to advertise our project, that I'm saying you most probably will have it. So the thing is that your costs will not change, but it will be organized differently. You will not pay per rent, per, I don't know, utilities, maintenance, like 7 to 10 invoices per month. You'll pay just one invoice, which will be per your space, per your workspace, and everything will be included. But the difference is that the business is made only on a large scale. You can make a profit if the space is 5,000 plus square meters. You cannot make a profit if it's less than 1,000 square meters.
Fair enough. Very good answer. I was imagining behind that like Excel sheet or something.
Many of them.
People are calculating all the time, of course. What about some values set behind that? How ready Latvian employers are to set free employees? Is there enough trust in our business culture?
Superb question. Very simple. If you think that an employee is sitting next to his computer, that he is working in that time, you're very naive. Most probably, a lot of employees spend part of their days sitting in Facebook or in other social media, or reading news. And that's time when they are not working. And it doesn't matter if they sit next to their computer or not. So the biggest challenge for the existing managers is to create a system where you can actually count how much product or value does your employee add to the company. Because previously it was quite simple. You work these hours per month, you are this type of professional, you should receive this amount of money. But now it's different. There is a difference in productivity. Two people who have the same education, same professional background, who receive the same salary, their productivity can be like 3 times different. One of them is maybe working 1/3 of the day, but you think he's working all day long. The other one is working actually the full day, but he's producing much more for your company in terms of value. So I think the first thing you should learn is how to measure the quality of the work of your employees. And then you will have like somehow to track the amount of work they have done or not by the hours the person is sitting next to the computer.
So joking on that, of course, the short answer is they are not doing their job any place if there is a computer with Facebook in front of them. Okay, thank you very much. Applause.
Thank you very much.
Please join our